Okie dokie, to kick this off, you were gonna need one of these. Now this is a lacrosse ball. If you don't have one of these, I'll put the link in the description so you can buy one of ours. Lots of places sell them though. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, you may have a tennis ball. They don't work quite as well, but still do the same thing. Or just anything hard that is on the ground and you can roll your foot on. I'm going to utilize the glass on the outside of our gym to show you how to utilize one of these to release the underside of your foot. Okay, conveniently for this video, we've got this glass to help demonstrate this. Now imagine that the glass is the floor and you're pretty much just looking at where this foot's going to be pressured onto that trigger ball to help release the muscles under the foot and on that underside. Now I like to start here under the knuckle of the big toe and work my way down to that calcaneus and just keeping on the muscle bits there. We don't want to be pressing down and really applying pressure onto bone. That can create a myriad of problems in itself. And just working the way laterally to the outside of the foot, just working up and down. Once you've gone across all the positions, once you've gone up and down all the positions, then I like to go across, and I'm just going to stop if I feel any knots or tight spots through there. I'm just working through the foot that way. Once I've done that, I do like to just come over to the notch of the toes and just bend each one back individually just to get that stretch through there, which then actually merges through to the second release exercise that we recommend once you've really rolled out the underside of the foot there with a ball. Okay, release exercise number 2 is the toe sit. Now, how you're gonna do this is on a raised object, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but you wanna get all of your toes planted on the ground through there and be stretching the underside of your foot through there, so you'll be feeling that stretch come through here. Now, knees resting on that elevated object, and then you're gonna come back and sit on your ankles. This then explains this. Now, if I had my knees resting on the ground, my weight would be shared between my feet and the knees because it'd be sort of in this position here. So we elevate that there higher than the feet so that when we bring ourselves back, our weight can drop directly under there. And you just sit here. It shouldn't be too uncomfortable. If you find that it is aggravating under here, not a good sign, because the muscles under your feet have contracted so much that it's about to cause you problems if you don't start to release them. I like to sit here. I recommend anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Whatever you can deal with, you should be able to deal with 2 minutes pretty comfortably. You can send text messages, do whatever you need to do, but that is release exercise number 2 to get the muscles on the underside of your feet nice and loosened up and released. All right, moving on to activation for the feet. Now, there are so many muscles that are in the foot alone just to move and articulate it how we want to move it. There are almost as many nerve endings in the feet as we have in our hands, which means all of these points of articulation, ideally we should have within our toes and feet. We used to have before, in the modern world, we started wearing comfortable shoes, using our feet less, sitting down a lot more, and things like that. So the saying goes true, what you don't use, you lose. Muscle is expensive to have, so if you're not using these little intricate muscles in your feet, the body will get rid of it because it saves energy and goes from there. So it's very, very important to make sure our feet are strong so that we have a good base of contact with the ground and shock isn't being sent up the rest of our body, which is these pains that we're feeling. So moving into this, there's 2 things that we're going to be doing. We've got toe flexions and we got what I call a squeeze and spread. That's just a great, I guess, activator for the major muscles of the foot to help keep it strong and have a good base. So copying me, coming from here, the important things here, you can be sitting on a box like I am or the floor, completely up to you. Sometimes I'll just do this sitting back, but as long as the entire foot is planted and is comfortable on the ground, and we are in visual sight of our toes and feet, making sure that the arches aren't collapsing in as we're moving this, or the knees or legs aren't helping at all. It's purely the toes that we're looking for that are moving. So the first one, the toe flexions, we're going to separate it into 2 parts, just lifting the big toe up, right? Now, if you're trying this at the same time, you might be looking at your feet going, why is that not moving? And that's just because you've lost that neural signaling to the foot to say move or contract and lift up. So if you're stuck here, unable to do that, then I recommend that's where you start off at. If you can, as soon as you think about it, move your toes at the same time, and equally. I've seen some clients literally one toe will be going, but the other one's not really doing anything. So make sure both sides are even as well, because that will play a big effect in how your body absorbs shock up it as we move around in everyday life. So that's toe flexions. Now you can see on this blog article, or if you've just come straight to this video, that I've recommended you do 10 reps of that. The other one is the other 4 toes. So lifting the other 4 toes up, keeping that big toe on the ground there. Now this is one that people will generally, and you've got to catch yourself here, as they lift that up, their knees will come in or their ankle will start to collapse in as well. And they go, oh yeah, I'm doing it, but they haven't. They've just collapsed that foot in, and to pick those toes up from there. So we've got to make sure we keep a nice stable base, nothing moves, and you're just lifting those little toes off of the ground and pressing that big toe in without curling it. Now, you might even feel the muscles under the arch here about to cramp or just really engage, and that's a good thing. Now, we're not out here looking to create cramps, but if you are feeling that, then that's muscles that the body was going to get rid of that you are activating more than you have been recently. So we want to train these toe muscles to be able to, on cue, be able to move like that. All right, so that's the toe flexions. Then we've got the squeeze and spread. So without curling the toes, we don't want to do this. We just want to have the toes nice and flat, the foot nice and flat. Squeeze those toes together, creating that more narrow, smaller footprint through there with our muscles, not being forced into it by a narrow shoe. If you can do that, relax. And we're going to do the opposite. We're going to create a nice wide footprint, okay? From there, and relax again, and same thing. 10 of those, and are they equal? Do you find that one's spreading more than the other one does? Do you find that you're having to lift and come out from there? I've even had people I show and they can't do that, so they separate their toes themselves, and then at least they've got the good feel for it, and then once the foot starts to fatigue, they let it come back in through there, and they just start out in that point from there. Cool. So they're those first two movements. So to reiterate through there, you got toe flexions, which is the big toe up only, and then the other 4, and then you've got squeeze and spread. And I recommend 10 of each, and just work through those daily and watch how your foot control improves. Moving on to the strengthen phase. Now there's 2 exercises on this, and while we're still sitting down here in this position, we'll focus more on the ankle and the muscles of that foot. Now I like to hook my forearm under the back of my knee here and just sort of relax that leg and have it propped up from there. Now these are called plantar flexion, dorsiflexion waves. So plantar flexion is the ankle pushing down like that. Dorsiflexion is coming up. If you think of like a dorsal fin on a dolphin, you're creating that fin and like that. So what we are going to do, you are going to curl the toes and really extend down and plantar flex as hard as you can. Now you'll feel the underside of the foot there, you'll feel the calf, you'll feel the entire back, underside of your foot and the back, that lower leg contracting through there. Keeping your toes pointed, keeping your foot pointed, we're going to flex the toes back and bring that up as high as we can. Really dorsiflex that up, pulling the toes back up as high as you can. Now you'll feel the top of the foot and the front of the shin, and you're really trying to pull that, create this new range of motion you've got. Keeping that dorsiflexion, curl the toes again, and now you start to see that wave pattern. We're going to flex the bottom of the foot, calf again, under there. That's 2 reps. I'm going to come back up, finish the second rep off, and I recommend 10 of those, and you'll feel the feet really activating, and we're starting to activate the lower leg as well and get into the rest of those muscles that control the movement of the foot. Second and last on this foot strengthening routine is the balls of feet hold, and that simply is, I'll come on an angle so you can see, coming onto the balls of our feet, lifting that heel off the floor and just holding. So I don't mean heel off the floor as in a full-blown calf raise. We're not just engaging the calves and going here. Remember, this is the underside of the feet. So we're gonna just lift the heels slightly off of the floor there and just hold that. Now, if this is the correct level to be at, you'll feel the underside, the muscles on the underside of that foot in that arch really working here. What you wanna be cautious of is, are you equally balanced, under that first and fifth knuckle of the toes? Or are you more on the outside or more on the inside? So you want to really, while you've got your heels on the floor, really feel all 5 toes on the ground, then shift forward, lift up a little bit, and maintain that position. If you can nail a minute in this position here, it's time to progress. By leaning onto one side a little bit, you still got the stability of that foot being on the floor, but most of your weight is coming down that one side. So you're biasing and creating much more stress on those muscles. When you can get a minute on both sides pretty comfortably and they're feeling the same, you're ready to progress again. The next level from there would just be coming up on one leg. Now this is creating a lot more instability because we're just balancing only on that one foot through the ground, and you can see my little micro adjustments that I'm making just to stand here and talk to you while I'm in this video. And if you can just hold this position equally on both sides without elevating that heel too much, you don't have your foot cramping underneath, and you can do that on both sides for 1 minute equally, you've got good stable feet and you're ready for most movements.